What's interesting is that nobody in Hollywood's vaccinated. Nobody talks about it. We know a bunch of actors.
They don't ever talk about it.
None of them are vaccinated, right?
Really?
None of them.
You mean they hide it?
They hide it. They have fake vaccine cards.
Oh,
We've been
really?
told this by
I thought
everybody.
you were being facetious.
No.
Oh.
A lot of Hollywood actors are not doing it because, you know, they're younger. A lot of them, they're healthier. They have access to really good treatment, this, that, and the other thing. They don't trust the narrative, whatever. They're just not. And, you know, outwardly, they're not talking about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, think of how many Hollywood celebrities went hard for Black Lives Matter. Now, think about how many of them went hard for the vaccine. Not a lot. There's just not a lot of Hollywood
Stephen
people.
Colbert went hard.
He went hard, but that's his job.
Is it?
Well, he's a puppet.
But
I mean, that's like
that was
literally the
most
marionette.
Puppety thing I think I've ever
Well,
seen.
he's a guy that took the $25 million a year, which I get. If somebody pays me $25 million a year,
is that what they give him to host that
they
show?
give him a lot of money. And he was getting no ratings, and then Trump came in and he goes, I will. My aunt loves Stephen Colbert. You know, she's in her 60s or late 50s. She has 3 or 4 autoimmune disorders. She's self-diagnosed. She drinks white Zinfandel, and she sits in her chair. She has a loveless marriage, and she stares at the TV, and Stephen Colbert comes on, and he goes, Trump's evil, and the Republicans are evil, and she cheers and smacks her seal-like paws together, and this is how she's going to spend the rest of her life. And I have another aunt who does the same thing, but she's a QAnon retard, and she watches Laura Ingraham, and her husband and her are like, you know, it's a loveless, you know, marriage, and she just sits in her chair drinking wine, watching Laura Ingraham and Tucker Carlson. So people at a certain age, I think when they've given up on everything else in life, they get very political.
Yeah, that does happen.
This
It also
seems-
gives them
yeah.
meaning.
Gives them something to
purpose.
do.
Well, they watch their tribe go to war.
That's
it's like,
right.
well, people are into football teams.
That's right.
You know, fucking go Buccaneers.
Right.
They
It's
get all
crazy. They
excited.
paint their chest.
Yes.
They go insane.
It's their team. And if
Do
their
you-
team loses, they get devastated.
Do you, as a highly productive person, look at people like that and go, they're just lower life forms? Because I'm not even nearly as productive as you, and I look at them like that, and I do 100th of maybe 1,000th of what you do, and I look at them and I go, they're like zombies.
Yeah.
Their bodies and minds have been taken over.
Well, it's a trap.
Right.
It's like if you ever watch people play 3-card monte in New York?
Yes.
And you go, oh, you fucking dummy. Like,
Yes.
You're going to get
You're
sucked
gonna
into
get-
that?
yeah.
Like, you'll get sucked into all
Right,
these things.
right.
You know, it's what I say about, like, if you get really invested in politics. Like, voting for president is probably a lot like rooting on pro wrestling.
That's right.
It might make you feel better,
Right.
but I don't know how much it really affects
Right.
the outcome.
Yeah.
And they're trying to pull that back as
for
much
sure.
as possible now.
I mean, if you look at Biden, who's clearly, you know, this act didn't get passed. Even
Yeah.
the Democrats are going, this guy is out of it.
Yeah.
Even people that voted for him are going, hey, something's wrong. It's clear to see that the will of the people gets subverted a lot
Yes.
in many different ways.
Sure.
And the people who end up running the show are not necessarily representative of what the public wants.
Yeah.
And how do you, I don't know that you fix that.
I don't know if you fix that either.
So unfortunately, it's just you end up adopting this kind of cynical position
Right.
that you can only really take care of yourself, your family, your community, the people. You can donate money, you can be altruistic in many different ways, but as far as the government, it seems like an unsolvable problem.
It's definitely complex, and it's moving in the wrong direction.
Right.
You know, I've been paying attention to these companies that are buying up affordable housing.
Yeah.
Have you
Like
paid attention?
BlackRock and Zillow.
Yeah, that's scary.
It is scary.
That's scary because if they can move the entire country into renting, like
That's right.
nobody can own it.
Well, that's what they want to do.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
They
If
don't
you
want
get-
anyone to own anything.
If you get a giant majority of the population that are just renters, that don't ever own property, they never have their own real home.
Yeah.
And then you make sure that you control their wage because you have massive corporations, whether it's Target or
Right.
Amazon or whatever, and they limit the amount of possible growth you have within a company.
Yeah. And there was that article, You'll Own Nothing and Be Happy in
I've seen
2030.
That is wild.
And this is, kind of, when you look at a lot of these think tanks and, groups of very powerful interests, when you look at the kind of world they want, they would like to get rid of things like car ownership.
Yes, I've been seeing that too.
They want to get rid of home ownership. They want people to all be on the grid in a major way. They want surveillance, cradle to grave, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Social credit systems.
Yeah, and the only thing it's left to do seems to be to get in with them. So that when they're doing this to everyone, you're with them.
Yeah, you're on the right side of the plexiglass.
Because here's the problem. People are marching into this willingly. They're like marching into it. It's like my aunt or the other aunt. Like people, as long as their team wins, they don't really care what rights they lose and what things end up looking like.
Yeah, they don't. There's a lot of people that don't. And they're so tribal that if the right-wing people want something, they want the opposite of that, even if it kills them. And so I think that there's a lot of exaggerated positions by people that take up these really amplified right-wing positions, and it's probably like Russian trolls or Chinese trolls or something like that. And they take up these positions which force the people on the left to get even more crazy with their Marxist ideas and leftist ideas.
They turn it up.
They're being played.
They turn it up.
And very few people are autonomous. Very few people have their own
But we're also a silly country now, so we have kids in the suburbs calling themselves Maoists, unironically, in these leafy green suburbs. And then we have the alt-right, and it's the same kids, and they want a return to the Holy Roman Empire. And these are children running around the suburbs that are online all day, venerating these genocidal dictators and going, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
It's a silly country, and there's a lot of problems.
And one of the first indications that I saw that this was coming was when comics stopped doing colleges.
Interesting, yeah.
Because as soon as
you lose the younger people,
because the comics are like, dude, they're too fucking politically correct. It's too annoying. I don't want to do this. They don't have any world experience, and their ideas are preposterous, and they don't want they're like the first to say no one should own property. They're the first to say that that we need a redistribution of wealth, and we need,
which a little bit of is good, but you don't want all of it. Because then why make money?
Income equality is a crazy statement.
Of course.
Because should people make more money? Yes.
Yes.
They definitely should.
Sure.
If you look at a corporation that's making fucking untold billions of dollars, and then you go down to the bottom of the chain and people are in dire poverty that are working for that company, and that company is benefiting substantially more than that person's
the balance is way off.
The balance is way off, and those people have no leverage.
Yes,
that's where unions come into play. That's why it's important.
It's but that's why Jeff Bezos recently with Amazon, he's taking the photos with the girl.
Yeah,
he's enjoying it. At least the Amazon employees, even though they don't have food or health care, can look at him and go, he's having fun. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas a Warren Buffett, he's just in Omaha having sex with kids quietly and worshiping Satan.
Is that what he's doing?
Come on, who lives in Omaha? He has $1 billion.
He drinks a lot of Coca-Cola.
He's got $100 billion. He lives in Omaha. Why? Because he likes.
He lives in a small house.
He says he likes Dairy Queen. Let's cut it out. But Bezos, at least, he's on a raft with these whores in the middle of the ocean. At least that inspires people.
It's his girlfriend. I think it's actually his girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's really pretty.
She's pretty in an interesting way.
What does that mean?
There's a shapeliness to her she seems threatening.
Like an animal.
She looks like an agent.
Ah.
Kind of like somebody that would play an agent in a movie, which is interesting because she probably is an agent in real life.
Well, she's
a Mossad agent or something.
Dated a lot of other people. She's had children. I think she's American.
Well, God bless her. And she's making good choices. I always tell women, if you can, marry a billionaire, right?
It's a good move.
Marry a wealthy dude.
Hang in there for a couple of years.
The
and it's
best
way better
life
than working at Amazon.
is to marry someone who they make money by destroying themselves while you enjoy it, which is many relationships that I know. A woman will enjoy the fruits of a man's labor. He will destroy himself, and she will kind of enjoy the money.
Right. But Bezos, I believe, is retired.
Well,
he stepped down as a CEO,
but it's kind of like Putin, right? Where they never really step down.
Interesting.
But my thing is when you have a country that's this silly, where comedy specials are people coming out making serious points. You have late night hosts crying. You have the girl who threatened her mother on Dr. Phil is a legitimate star. right? Bad Baby. Remember that woman?
Oh, yeah.
She threatened to kill her mother on TV. She's a star now.
She has massive Instagram following.
Massive, massive. Where does this go, right? Pictures of apes are selling for the cost of a Lamborghini. Our last president was the guy who hosted The Apprentice, and on his last day of office, a mob of lunatics ran into the Capitol to take selfies with fucking wigs on. It looked like a sketch I would do. Like, it really is. We're in like a fucking weird movie.
Do you remember when you were a kid
Yeah.
and you would hear about the last days of the Roman Empire?
Yes.
Where they were just like eating till they couldn't take it anymore and then shoving a feather in their mouth and
Yes.
throwing up and
Yeah.
fucking everybody.
Yes.
That's us.
And it's
This
when
is that version
explained
of
like
it.
that, it sounds good. It
Sounds like
doesn't
a party.
sound that bad. But it is funny as a comedian when you step back and you go like, this is really, really crazy stuff.
It's crazy stuff, and the problem is I don't see a good ending because if
No.
we fall in, the other problem is we have to compete with China, and
Right.
China has this amazing ability to control their population through propaganda and intimidation and total censorship, which we're like moving in that kind of general direction,
Right.
which is really scary because the one way we may be able to compete with China is to become more like China, because otherwise, like they're so integrated. Their government and their business is inexorable. They're connected. You cannot have a corporation where the government's not involved.
Right.
So the government makes decisions with the corporations that benefit the government and benefit the Chinese Communist Party, benefit the country in
Right.
general.
And we're on that path too.
Yeah, it
with
seems
military, industrial contractors, pharma companies that kind of killed the Obama health care bill. They went in and rewrote that, and they were like, we don't want this. All their lobbyists had a lot of influence on that. It's strange to really conceive of it as a reality, as opposed to just a joke or a kind of a cynical aside. It actually does seem that we're in a stage of decline that's somewhat irreversible.
Yeah,
and
it does.
It's hard not to be depressed.
Have you? I think we've talked about this before. Douglas Murray, he talked about all
The madness
the
of
gender
crowds.
issues.
Yes.
Well, he was on my podcast and he was saying that these gender issues where people are changing genders, swapping genders, he goes, that takes place in all civilizations that are collapsing.
Now, why is that?
I don't know.
Is it people just get bored?
I think it's when life gets very easy,
Yeah.
people start looking for problems and they start looking to the structure of society and then looking to try
Where
sort
can
of
they poke a hole?
dissolve. Yeah.
Because there are legitimate trans people,
100%.
clearly. Clearly, I know somebody who's trans who never speaks about it, lives as a woman, doesn't even know that I know. Great person. Born a man, now lives as a woman. Lives as a woman, doesn't speak about, is like
Say
very
her
much.
name so everybody knows.
Well, I don't, she probably wouldn't even mind. Everyone now is such a fame whore.
Well, I had
you know.
Blair White on the podcast.
Blair White, yeah.
Who's as trans as you can get.
As
Like,
trans,
you
yeah.
look at that and go, oh, I get it.
So there's
100%.
legit, but then there's this other thing where people are going, I have green hair.
Yeah.
I'm trans or non-binary, and you go, wait a minute, hold on a minute. You're a white female who goes to Wesleyan College. You're dating a guy.
Right.
You're in a heterosexual relationship. You felt no oppression your entire life. Your dad works for Raytheon. Your mother's a pill addict. You go to school and
This is
you
a Billy
go,
Joel song.
this is you go to school and you figure out a way to not be the oppressor.
Right.
You go, I will be different now.
it's true.
And as a real faggot, you used to have to be a faggot to be a faggot. Like, you used to have sex with men,
Right.
or if you're a woman, you have sex with women. And people were supposed to, be like, ugh. And there was some naturalness to that because, like, the reaction of people was that the thing that you were saying was real, right? And some people were like, it was harder for them to get behind. But
You suffered legitimate oppression.
You suffered legitimate oppression because the feelings you had were valid and real.
Right, not non-binary oppression.
Yeah, it was real. Like, you were saying, I put a penis in my mouth, and people were going, that's odd. And well, this is my father said that because that's odd. No, I'm kidding. He's fine with everything as long as he doesn't have to work harder. He's not a hard worker. But the whole thing is this new thing has taken over the gay thing now.
Yeah.
So it's not really gay people.
Right, it's fake.
Gay people are kind of looked at as Nazis.
Really?
If you see two lesbians now, because lesbians usually own businesses, they're capitalists. Most lesbians are capitalists, and they're quite vicious.
Really?
They fire people. Oh, most lesbians are very competent people, whereas a lot of gay men.
Ellen?
Like Ellen. Ellen is a CEO. Truly.
Yes.
She has a real estate portfolio that's in excess of $100 million. I mean, the woman was a tyrant, but she got things done.
Yeah.
But now I think the gays and lesbians are like the normies of gays now. And there's a new crop of people coming in that don't really have any sex. They spend most of their time online. They're all like pansexual communist witches. And their main goal is to tweet about you. No one even fucks. They're really just tweeting about you. No one's even having dirty, sweaty, sinful sex in a motel room anymore. Everybody's on Reddit talking about you.
Have you?
It's a weird thing.
It's weird for me.
Remember
it's
the
really
Birdcage, the movie? It was very fun.
Yeah, I never watched it.
It's great. Nichols and May wrote it. It's brilliantly funny. It's gay people in South Beach doing drugs, having sex, and having fun. We are like the opposite of that. We are like in some sexless, autistic horror hellscape where people just sit around and there's this weird like office politics, bureaucratic, like, weird like, you made me upset. You made me upset. Like I grew up with Rent, where it was that show where people were like, we have AIDS, but let's have fun.
Right, let's dance.
That was the theme of Rent. It was like, we have AIDS, but let's not let it ruin the night.
Yeah.
And now people are just upset for all kinds of reasons. It's weird. And you don't really hate gay people.
No, I don't hate it. I love you.
Yes.
I don't hate anybody.
You've been very good to me.
Yeah, I don't.
Loving me is like golfing with Candace Owens and going, I love blacks. So, yeah.
No, I love everybody, man. I have no ill will towards any individual group.
Right.
Individual people.
Yeah, of course.
And silly people.
How weird is it that comedy's gotten weird? Like now at the Comedy Store, you have all these guys that have talked shit about you, right? Now, obviously many of them are feeble and diabetic and dying, so it's not like they present a physical threat. I mean, many of them are not well. But if you were like, is it weird now with this community the way it is that's so splintered?
Well, I don't know who's talking shit about me. And the ones that do, if that is real, I left. And I brought a lot of the people here.
Yeah,
and it's better here.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of FOMO going on for sure.
Yeah.
But then there's also a lot of people that are trying to establish this new position on the food chain, which is one of the ways that you and I became friends.
Right.
Because I read the thing you wrote about Louis.
Right.
And I'm like, he fucking nailed it, because that's exactly what it is.
That
it's
was
these
it.
mediocre talents that are looking to attack Louis, who was at the time, and still is, one of the best comics that's ever lived.
One of the most brilliant comic minds that have ever lived.
And so when they were attacking him, they weren't just attacking him because they thought that what he did was wrong.
Right.
They were doing it because they wanted to establish that they wanted to stomp him down because he was
they didn't
weakened.
even know what he did.
Yeah.
There was just this idea, this very kind of vague general idea of what had been out there and things like that.
There's a lot of cowardice in comedy, man.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cowards, and there's a lot of people that take some chances, but then they fucking think about them and they panic. And then they go back and they'll try to attack someone because they think it makes them feel like they're more protected because they're on the offensive. It's like, it's a wild time, man.